Hello there and welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is Thursday's edition of Business Nigeria. These are the top stories we are tracking for you at this time. Naira appreciates by 0.7% against the dollar as PCNGI to inaugurate nationwide mass transit conversion program. Stocks, bonds stumble over global rate anxiety. Now, on our interview segment today on the show, we'll do another holistic analysis of the oil and gas industry under President Bola Tinubu's administration. Yes, we've been taking it segment by sector by sector. Today, we'll start with the oil and gas industry, and later, we'll stay with more economic policies instituted by this administration. That's after 1 year in office. Let's start with some stories making headlines, and we get to our discussion. The Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative has announced the launch of its PCNGI conversion and refueling site in Ilorin, Kwara State. The PCNG initiative, in a statement, said the state-of-art facility will play a crucial role in supporting the transition to cleaner energy, and also by offering comprehensive conversion and refueling services for vehicles. The statement further said the launch will mark the commencement of the nationwide mass transit conversion program aimed at converting mass transit vehicles to cleaner energy sources, significantly reduce emissions, and promoting environmental sustainability. The PCNG initiative emphasized that the initial phase of the conversion program will come on stream in Lagos, Kwara, Federal Capital Territory, and Rivers State. Now let's get talking. As President Bola Ahmed Tinubu marks his first year in office, the spotlight turns to his administration's impact on Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Now, one of the key areas of focus has been the diversification of the country's energy sector, with the president emphasizing the importance of renewable and investment in clean energy technologies. Well, let's get talking. I'm being joined for more perspective live from our Abuja studios. A former lawmaker represented Jos South-East Federal Constituency between 2019-2023, Honorable Dachung Bacos. Thank you so much. It's good to have you in the program.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Nigeria.
Great. I think when we want to start discussions in Nigeria's oil and gas industry, the first bold step many said President Tinubu took was the removal of subsidy. And I think that generated comments from all and sundry. So let me ask you, this has, of course, led to increase in price of PMS. Well, diesel and all of that have already been liberalized before now. But do you think that this was well instituted? And the fallout, was it well managed?
Yeah, well, not just a bold step. That's the lion step that anybody could ever think of in the terms of affairs, being a president. And you know that many presidents have tried as much as possible to remove fuel subsidy. It has led to street protests. It has led to a lot of opposition discussion. It has led to sensitization to the public, but it wasn't possible not until now. And now that the president has gotten the opportunity and the support of policymakers in removal of the fuel subsidy, that is very key, because why it succeeded is that a lot of stakeholders within the industry and even Nigerians supported the president in the removal of fuel subsidy. But going to the fallout, we look at it in two perspectives. Number one, fallout in terms of economic growth, in terms of government trying to achieve what they needed to achieve. Removal of the fuel subsidy has been able to give government window for more revenue generation, to be able to get more resources in reaching out, in addressing some of its agenda. But secondly, now that this subsidy was alleged to be for to cushion the effect of prices and the regulation in the oil industry to and for Nigerians. So in two ways, as it is, a lot of discussions have taken place. to Nigerians, you know how the removal of fuel subsidy have affected the increase in food prices, have affected increase in the way Nigerians, the daily living of an ordinary Nigerian. So to me, and as a representative of the people, that's an angle that most of us looked at it. It wasn't well thought of in trying to cushion the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy. In as much as the removal of fuel subsidy has been able to block a lot of leakages in terms of corruption, in terms of the few cabals that are controlling resources from the fuel subsidy. And again, it has given independence to the NNPC management to be able to have the window to look at how to generate more funds as an independent company, as a Nigerian independent company, to be able to help the Nigerian government in revenue generation. But to the Nigerian people, that is an angle that most of us looked at, said, look, now we expected that, look, a lot of issues supposed to have been put in place to cushion the effect of removal of the fuel subsidy before the removal. So now that all of us are in this, what is the way forward? How can we be able to address these issues? That is very key, and that is very important to the administration of President Bola Tinubu, to see that how can he be able to see that he address the issues that have risen from the removal of fuel subsidy. Very, very important.
It's a good way to start our conversation, where I take you to declining oil production, which is something that the NNPC and, of course, the federal government keeps talking about, ramping up production. But we've seen a decline, and this has continued to affect us, lack of investments, and, of course, a bit of sabotage in that space. How well do you think President Tinubu and, of course, the team, have they fared in addressing this challenge?
You know, the PIA has given the president and the management of the NNPC under the leadership of the GCEO, Mele Kerry, and they have shown capacity, because our interaction with the management of NNPC during the PIA era and be able to see how NNPC will fare, we've been able to see commitment from the management of the NNPC that, look, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to address the issue of insecurity. This is how we want to see that the NNPC reach out to Nigerians, let Nigerians own up to the NNPC. And those are some of the reasons that we supported the PIA as representative, because I will be very glad to see that the NNPC have opened up shares to Nigerians to see that, look, everybody own a stake in the ownership of the NNPC. And those were the commitment we saw from the management of NNPC, and we all applauded that. And I can tell you that anything that you own, you'll be able to see that it's well secured. And that is part of insecurity that has bedeviled the production of crude oil and even the drilling and refining and so on and so forth. In one of the major areas that we saw applauded in the PIA, which I can say that is the frontier aspect. And the frontier aspect is to give NNPC more room for exploration. And the exploration not just within the Niger Delta region. Today we can boast that oil drilling has started taking place in part of the north, in part of the middle belt, and in some certain frontiers areas within the country. And when NNPC now start diversifying, and the president put his effort in looking at exploring oil in different areas of the country. Last time the NNPC was able to launch its the exploration in Bauchi, in Nasarawa, and I'm very much aware that even my own state, Plateau, especially in Wasi, that exploration will take place within those axes. And so if exploration and looking at all those areas that we will need to key into, it will reduce the dependence of the issue of exploring oil in one certain region. And when that region is being so much caged, you now find high level of insecurity. So addressing the issue of insecurity is one of the major areas. So if you are looking at addressing insecurity, you need to look at diversifying. And we're happy that now we're looking at state policing. So which means more agencies will go into looking at how to address the issue of insecurity within the country. So if insecurity is being addressed, I can tell you that the production and exploration of oil within the country will now be everywhere, and everybody will own the fact the fact that, look, we have a stake in the NNPC, in management of NNPC. So everyone will now look, I have a stake here. So how can we be able to secure pipelines within our community? How can we be able to secure to see that the oil exploration within our community, the workers and everybody is safe? By so doing, you will see that production will go up. You will now see that Nigerians will have a stake. You will now see that, look, the management of the NNPC will own up to the fact that they have been able to see and explore oil in every part and cranny of the country, which is very key. So to me, addressing insecurity is not just about the amnesty program, it's not just about having just town halls, but it's about looking forward before even the exploration. Now that oil is being looked upon in my state, like for instance in Wasi, the insecurity issues that are on the plateau in those areas of Wasi, it should be addressed before the exploration. The insecurity perspective, or as it might be able to forecast in those certain areas, should be looked into. And the state police that will come into law, and I believe that all these areas, with a holistic arrangement, will be able to address some of it. So I'm looking at a future that will be more secured, addressing the current challenges.
Now, Honorable, let's talk about transparency in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Before PIA, there were issues around...
I can hear you well.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I was talking about transparency now in the oil and gas industry. At the time, we had issues with level of consumption, figure of consumption, number of liters. But what do you make generally about transparency in the industry 1 year after President Tinubu took over office?
Well, the transparency in the oil and gas industry is not just the issue in Nigeria. One major thing that for us we want to look at is that as we applaud the NNPC management from the removal of fuel subsidy, we want to further interrogate that the monies that have been saved from the removal of fuel subsidy, what is it being used for? If NNPC is now transmitting such funds to the Nigerian government, what is the Nigerian government doing in terms of the transparency in the monies that has been saved from the oil subsidy? Which is very key that all of us need to know. And again, 1 year in government, we can be able to see, for me as a critic, I can be able to, wheresoever that I can see, I have seen something much credible that will be able to address some of those challenges that we are having as a country. We applaud and we say, look, do more in that very area. Like now, I can see the political will from the president that, look, they are looking into the oil sector. It's this administration that, and I'm now hearing that, Nigeria can now diversify. We are now talking about CNG. We are now talking about liquefied gas. We are now talking about how to be able to look into other areas. How can we be able to use the oil and gas industry to benefit Nigerians? I'm now seeing that Dangote refinery is now working. I know when we were in the House, we were able to oversight some of the refineries, and we are now very sure and positive that look, the management of NNPC are now looking at. They have assured us, not just even looking, assured us that look, the refinery will start working 2024. So all those areas that we interrogated when we were in the House, the transparency in looking at how can this work to the benefit of Nigerians is what we are all looking up to. What have government been able to do with the funds of fuel subsidy that the NNPC transmitted to the administration? These are areas that Nigerians want the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to open up to Nigerians that look, this is what you expect, this is what you are going to get, and this is how it will be. And once the refineries have started producing, we want to be able to see that look, from the barrels that are being produced on daily basis, on issues that these are the level of transparency. I saw a clip, a video clip of how the level of transparency of oil in Saudi Arabia, that from production to where it will get to the retail, they can track every single drop of oil. So when we key into technology to open up transparency in the oil business in Nigeria, Nigerians will be so proud of this very administration. Because I've always said that after politics is governance. So now that we have a president for 4 years, how can we be able to, for all of us, to support the president to deliver in areas that we need him to deliver as a people? In areas that we see that it's not doing in the next 2-3 years, we will definitely be able to criticize in those areas. But the level of transparency in the oil and gas business, our interaction with the management of the NNPC led by the GCEO, we have seen the commitment from the management of NNPC, but we want it to translate to what Nigerians will get on the table, that look, we are so proud of what we have. Like once shares started, like I so emphasize on the, because it's now a company, I'm emphasizing on this aspect because tomorrow, once we start having annual general meeting like in the banks, NNPC will really own up and make Nigerians proud at the end of the day that this is what they want to do. And from our interaction, I will always emphasize, because of what we have interacted with the management of the NNPC, we have seen that commitment. And the consistency we have seen for them to be in position, and especially from what the PIA has been able to give, to have the downstream and the upstream. If we have that, and with the level of transparency we expect from the management, we'll be so proud at the end of the day. This is 1 year in office. We believe that in second year in office, when we analyze the administration of the president, we should be able to say whether he has done well or he has not done well. But for me, I've seen the political will in the diversification that today we are talking about oil and gas very seriously in the country. We are now talking about the PIA has given the NNPC exploration. We are talking about looking at oil in part of the north and the north central. We are talking about a lot of things. So the discussion that Nigerians have now gotten interest in the oil and gas business transactions is very important, because the more we open up this discussion, the better for us as a people.
Sounds good. Let's stay now with gas, because analysts have said Nigeria has proven and unproven reserves of gas, which we are yet to take advantage of. And government seems to be focused. At the time, it was a decade of gas, and now we see that government is trying to monetize gas. The president came up with executive orders to also make this happen. What is your understanding of this, and how soon do you see us start to benefit as expected from gas now and not crude oil?
Yeah, because we have high level of gas in the country, in as much as we're even flaring it at a point without knowing the importance of it. Now that we have known the importance of gas, and that's why government is putting its emphasis on the CNG vehicles and CNG. My only challenge is the conversion, the safety towards it, which I believe, with more emphasis and having more conversion stations around, it will go a long way. Because you know something that you have less national orientation on it, it will be very difficult for Nigerians to get into it. But remember the days that as young people growing up, what we usually go out to buy was kerosene in gallons. But today, you can go around within the community and you will see different, that's down to the retail aspect of gas, that you will now see retail stations around that people are now using even gas in various houses, which is, to me, which is one of the best form of businesses that Nigerians can get into at a very small scale. Because when Nigerians, those small kerosene businesses that we used to have, Nigerians can now get involved in that, in gas business at that level. When you are talking about CNG, you are talking about the cooking gas, you are talking about a different level, even to me, even not just the jet fuel, but you are talking about gas at different level of livelihood. Because when you monetize gas, the common Nigerian will be able to get involved in the retail business of gas. And when we get involved in the retail business of gas, the level, your GDP as a country will be better, inflation will go down, because now Nigerians will be able to have one or two businesses that are doing, but more sensitization needs to come into place because we need a lot of sensitization for Nigerians to get to understand the level of business within the gas sector. Because Nigerians, we are so much used to PMS, and nobody knows any other thing. PMS at most, the diesel. But when more sensitization is being brought into play into this gas monetization, into Nigerians getting into the gas business, because when you talk about the gas business, a lot of people believe that you have to be a multi-billionaire to be able to get into the gas business. But I know people that are now into gas business with little resources, as much as 2, 5, 10 million to get into that. So monetizing the gas sector, it's very, very important. And accessibility to funds for retail is another aspect that the government needs to look into. As we are looking at, for instance, today we have a bank of industry that gives loan to farmers to get to farm. What are those areas that ordinary Nigerians can get into the gas business? How can they be able to access funds to get into the gas business? Because today, you want to get into some of these businesses that are at the middle level of its monetization. The requirements that banks will give you, like, it's so unbearable. So government needs to look at those incentives that will be able to give Nigerians to get into the gas business. What are those level of, I wouldn't say much of subsidies, but much of how can they be able to look at the incentives to be able to lessen the burden for Nigerians to access funds to get into the gas business, which is very key. So if the Nigerian government is putting emphasis in gas. How can Nigerians get into the gas business? It's very key.
Finally, before I let you go, Honorable, let's wrap up with refining. And we see efforts in that revamping the Port Harcourt refinery. I hope you can hear me. And also Dangote refinery, which everyone is talking about. I'd like to hear your views on when do you likely see that we would, I don't want to say stop importation, but reduce importation of petroleum products when we start to get the positives of both refineries. When do you think, when are we likely to get to that point?
Yeah, you know, to me, as soon as we can, I've seen the political will in giving license to Nigerians that are interested. But again, when do we start? Well, today we are proud that as a Nigerian, that Dangote refinery has diversified the sector with refining, with the capacity to refine 1,000 barrels. The Port Harcourt refinery has a capacity of about 450 or thereabout, but now with when they start the quick fix maintenance to be able to refine almost about 250 barrels. So when all this, to reduce the burden of importation. But to me, one of the major things that I will be able to be so much happy about is not just reducing importation, but job creation within the sector. If Dangote has started refining to its full capacity, Port Harcourt is refining to its full capacity. You have the Kaduna as well, and Warri. When all this start refining to its full capacity, you know, one of the major area of reducing inflation within a country is it's job creation. So when all this has opened to job creation and we have reduced importation, you can see that our inflation will start going down. And not just that, the forex. Today we are talking about the high level of forex. Well, that Naira has gained a little above the universal currency of the dollar. So when all this starts working, you'll be able to see that now. Our transaction currency will be in Naira. People will be well employed. You will now have the level of dependence on some certain, so to say, cabals that have been able to catch and to be able to lock this system down. But most importantly, to me, one of the areas that I will be so much happy about is not just about just refining that. The local content that we are talking about. In refining crude oil, you have a lot of byproducts. And some of these byproducts will be able to look at local content within the country, to be able to, in different industries. So when we start looking at the byproducts of the petroleum products within what we produce as a country in refining the crude oil, you will see that most of the things that we import as a people and as a country in terms of local content, we'll be able to start using them within the country. So to me, refining and exploration, getting more oil within the country will improve the local content that we are all outsourcing. It will improve job creation. So those areas is very key. So we shouldn't just look at refining or refining crude oil, but what goes beyond that. So I want to encourage the president that, look, 1 year in office, yes, we have seen the political will in gas, in diversification, in gas production, and so on and so forth. We have seen the political will by the management of NNPC, led by Mele Kyari. So with this political will, we want to see commitment in carrying this political will to the next level that Nigerians expect. So this is 1 year. So we want to see sustainability. We want to see that, look, there is improvement. We want to see that in the next 1 year, that all the refineries are now working. We want to see that in the next 1 year, the level of transparency that Nigerians are talking about within the oil and gas industry, it's now open. We want to see a lot to come into play. Now that we have seen the political will, we want to see the commitment. And I can tell you, in as much as I'm not in the House now, the National Assembly is willing. From what we did in the 9th Assembly, and I was part of the 10th Assembly, I can see the commitment of representatives of Nigerians to support whatsoever policy that will improve our way of livelihood. Nigerians are truly, truly suffering. Let me use the word of the President, that with this, let the poor truly breathe by looking at more exploration, more security in the oil and gas industry, more transparency, but again, more sensitization. Because when Nigerians are not informed, you continue to have the wrong perception, because with Nigerians, they don't know what it takes to be able to get involved, what it takes to get what they need to get, and what government is doing. So I think more sensitization and national orientation on this sector needs to come into play.
I must thank you so much, Honorable Dachung Bacos, former lawmaker, represented Jos South-East Federal Constituency. Thanks for your insight into the sector and, of course, prospects ahead. Do enjoy the rest of your day. We appreciate this.
Thank you.
All right, there. Well, a lot to be done talking about Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we have more for you. This is Business Nigeria with Tolulope Ogunjobi. We'll be right back.